Refurbishing Hatchets and Chainsaws. William Hovey Smith, 2021.
This is Hovey Smith, the backyard sportsman. A few days ago, I started processing this limb that had the good fortune to fall across my burn pile. Well, I did not get very far. In fact, my chainsaw back here had such a dull blade it would not cut. The hatchet that I had recently put a head on, after 3 strokes, the head went whiz, splat. So that needed attention. And one of my favorite tools of all, the Fox axe here, had a separation along the side of this flange that actually holds the blade to the handle. Now all of these conditions have now been corrected, as you will see in the following video segment. Our woodcutting adventures were stymied because each of the tools we were trying to use in one way or another failed. The chainsaw, as it turns out, I had used it to cut some very large pecan and pine, and it just needed sharpening. It would not work through those 6-inch sections of limb very easily at all. Oh, I cut up some small stuff with it, but yeah, this size stuff, no, it didn't like it at all. And my 2 hatchets, including my favorite Fox axe, show signs of failure. Here, this flange is starting to separate from the blade, and that separation now.
The Fox axe is designed after a Bronze and Iron Age Roman pattern and is now made of stainless steel. It's made in Italy and imported by the A.G. Russell Knives Company.
Is between 1/8 and 1/4 inch, so that's getting to be significant, so I've got to do something about that. And what I'm going to do about it is put in brads, which is exactly what was done in the day. On my rehandled hatchet here, after I'd cut through a few limbs, the head went flying off in the bushes. So obviously it needs a steel wedge, and we're going to make one for it. So we have bradding to do, we have a wedge to make, and we have a chainsaw blade to sharpen, and we're going to do it in reverse order. On the chainsaw blade, I'm going to use a Dremel tool and these ceramic sharpening stones here. Now I partially use the one I have on the machine, and it may well take another one to complete the sharpening on here. The way you work it is you capture the angle between the cutting blade like here, and then you reverse it and get the other way like that, and like that, and like that, and so on down the blade until you get them all done. You may start wherever you like. And the way I keep track of the teeth I've sharpened is to actually polish them a little bit across the top. In looking in my scrap box, I find a couple of pieces of metal that might work. And this is the reason you save little hunks and pieces like this. You never know when you're going to need a shim or something like it. And of the 2, I think this is most appropriate, although I'm going to have to do considerable thinning to get this down to a wedge shape, as well as reduce its width in this direction. I'm going to use a grinder here and take these edges off so I can mount them in a vise solidly. Because before I start, I want to thin this with the angle grinder, but I need a firm base of attachment before I even start that. Okay, that looks much better. Now this is going to be a delicate little piece of work for the angle grinder because I want to cut it right along there. Okay, that's it. I guarantee you, you don't want to touch that right now. You would not like the result. All right. Yeah, that will do. We've rough shaped our wedge here and given it, of course, a taper, which took just a very few minutes on the grinder. This doesn't look very pretty, but it will work. And so now, after it cools off a little bit, we're going to actually drive it into the head. Now see what happens here. Okay, so we now have that wedge installed. All right, repair number 2 done. On number 3, you can see this rather grievous gap that's opening up. There are 2 ways to do rivets. One's hot and one's cold. And first thing, drill 3 holes. We finally got 2 holes in our axe there, and what we have installed in those holes are self-threading screws. Now, self-threading screws are by their very nature very hard. They are also brittle, and here's what they look like on the other side. Consequently, I'm going to cut them off about here and take my propane torch and heat them to the point where I can actually brad them down against the blade itself. The concept is to heat these self-threading screws to a cherry red and then see if they will brad over.
I'm an author, mainly of outdoor books, but also of significant business books. The most recent of which is Make Your Own Job, Anytime, Anywhere, at Any Age, which is available in softcover as well as an audiobook. My novel, Until Death Do You Part, An American Family Meets Their Sicilian Cousins, is now available in softcover and as an ebook from Amazon and other sources. And soon the audio title, now available from Lantern Audio, will also be available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and other outlets.
Okay, let's give it a try. Success! One down, one to go. I'm really heating up this handle too. That's a necessary part of it. Okay, I don't think those are going anywhere. I found another carbide bit which still had a little life in it and drilled the other hole. And this one is going to be pounded unmercifully because this is where the largest gap is. Okay, that's right. That's doing, but it's still a little loose. I've got to heat it enough so it will bend and seal the gap and close the gap but not break. Okay, that's no longer wiggly, so I'm going to call that one good. Not a very pretty repair, but I think an effective one. And we did get this gap in here somewhat sealed. Not completely closed, but somewhat. These can help but strengthen the attachment of the head to the axe. Now, we're going to actually try out our refurbished tools and see if they really work. What I use these small axes for is for trimming up these in the straighter sections so they lie better on the pile and I can make a denser pile for burning. Before I start cutting on anything, I want to get all of this viney material out from underfoot. I'll take a branch like this and trim all these side branches so things will lie straighter on the file. The viney stuff that you see is mostly poison oak. And this tells a tale about if you have a tree with vines all over it, and if you want to preserve that tree, cut those vines and let them go ahead and die. Otherwise, they do several evil things. One, they can actually constrict the flow of nutrients up the bark into the tree. They add weight. They certainly add wind resistance and make a viney tree more likely to lose limbs than one that's not. So, if you have vines started up your trees, kill them. The fox axe, by virtue of its thinner blade, cuts much easier. It's also lighter weight than the standard hatchet, so it swings faster, it's easier to handle, and the handle itself, with its large bulb on the bottom, is more ergonomically shaped. For this reason, that is my favorite axe, and well worth repairing. Now the hatchet, on the other hand, I think the head is starting to move a little bit, so I'm going to have to put that in water and soak it. And we're going to soak it for a while and see if that improves the situation. To show you a little bit of the fox's axe's cutting capabilities, we're going to tackle this limb right here. All right. 3 whacks and it's done. Branch trimming. Okay. Now we load this one up. Now that we have the work area cleared and the saw running, we can proceed to cut up that main limb. Wants to cut. While I have a saw running, I cut, and one thing I had growing was a bush that was perhaps 50 years old, a rose of Sharon, and it had overgrown to the point that its branches had actually collapsed of their own weight, and it also in the meantime had hosted a whole series of smaller trees, of which that oak that I left standing is the best one of the lot. So I cut the rest away and left a single oak, and now it should really prosper now that it doesn't have all the competition. Our refurbished axes and our rejuvenated old Craftsman's lawn tractor here did very well today. If you really want a lightweight, effective hatchet to put in your canoe or take hunting or clean game with, I highly recommend that fox axe. Now the Russell Company imports them, and you can buy them online. For now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time.
The A.G. Russell Company has a website at agrussell.com. Work to come on the Craftsman's lawnmower will include installing a new steering assembly. For more information on my books, blogs, and nearly 900 videos, go to www.hoveysmith.com. For information on my business books, go to createyourownjobsecurity.com. My novel, Until Death Do You Part, An American Family Meets Their Sicilian Cousins, is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other book outlets, or may be ordered from your local bookstore. Hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Goodbye and God bless.